This is the Interstellar Gateway podcast, yet to be named. Either going to be part 2 of episode 1, or this will be episode 2. I think we'll kind of make a decision as we go.
Yeah.
This is our first time sitting down and talking with you guys post Flight-6. You guys will be seeing this after our initial set of footage drops. We are approximately 24 hours post-launch. All day today has spent editing and grading and putting together what I think is some pretty cool footage for you guys. But man, I think I speak for both of us when I say we're both freaking fried, dude.
Yeah, it was definitely a unexpected outcome to launch this time around. Of course, no catch.
Yeah.
We had to abort due to communication with the tower being lost, which these things happen. It's testing, it's fast innovation, it's going to happen. And it's a bummer, but we still got some good footage. We got plenty of data that we wanted from our live cameras this time. We had a fully streamed camera that went through the entire time in 4K, so that was a mission success. Our second one, that position was less ideal, so we started getting some packet loss during prop load, but something we'll adjust for. But verifying at least one of our positions and cameras was really good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I think our biggest takeaway, just kind of like conversations amongst ourselves over the past 24 hours, is just that this mission wasn't what we anticipated. It wasn't necessarily what we planned. There was a lot of, just kind of from the word go, getting here in Texas about a week ago. A lot of unexpected kind of bumps in the road and small problems that we had to find fixes for, and issues that were just popping up in the moment that we had to address and really kind of turn our solution finding modes on for.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we both, like I said, we've been talking over the past 24 hours or so, both kind of came to the conclusion that this was a really good data collection mission for us.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had to put this together fairly fast. We had the idea that this wasn't going to happen until later. But it's definitely a little rushed. Even collecting all of our equipment and getting new equipment, getting it prepped, and trying to test as best as we could. Took a lot, it went way faster than it should have, which, that's part of the game. And I'm happy with the data that we got. Of course, it's like I said, it's always a bummer when things fall short, and that's okay. We had some hiccups with several of our cameras. We lost cameras. Some cameras failed, but even with that, we have plenty of data that we need for that to fix those issues and innovate. There's several things we're going to end up building, have custom builds for to help us control those items. And then, of course, we're going to start consolidating all of our equipment, go into full bodies, everything full body pretty soon. And, of course, film at some point, But this was grueling. It was a very grueling. I've said this many times, this was one of the hardest launches I've done.
Yeah. It's certainly up there in terms of like painstaking grueling missions.
It was tough. The turnaround time was way too fast, which it's just going to get faster at some point. So, which is, it's expansion. You have people here ready to go, even people out of bounds ready to go to where, doing the building and innovating and flying and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really fast, and in terms of us flying in here just a few weeks from the last launch, it hurt. It was this was really, really rough. But and then of course you have the amount of people that were out there. An insane amount of people at the pad. I was
gonna say like the last time that these guys heard from us was 24 hours prior to launch, and we were out there collecting B-roll, and then we had the idea the night before we filmed episode 1 of the podcast, the unnamed podcast, yet to be determined, that we would get started on that and just kind of like throw ourselves into the fire when it came to the podcast episode and kind of did an impromptu episode. So the last time these guys heard from us was 24 hours prior to launch, and that was, or maybe it was 48 hours prior to launch, because we were out at the launch pad about 24 hours prior, and like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what camo setup this time was like compared to any other time, and how that went for people who might not have been boots on the ground in Starbase.
It was a lot different from previous launches. In terms of just pure the amount of people that were here, it was a lot of tourists. I think a lot of people were more excited from the first catch. You know, it basically made every headline in the country and even around the world.
Sure.
So everybody wanted to see it, and it was just so many cars, so many people. I mean, I've done 3 of these now, and I've never seen this many people. Like,
yeah.
it was wild.
Not for nothing, this was probably the first mission. Well, I should say Flight 5. Flight 5 really was the first mission kind of post that launch and that catch, that any of my immediate circle of we'll call them casuals, friends and family who don't really follow the aerospace industry too closely or know a whole lot about what's going on.
Yep.
In my 7 going on 8 years of kind of being in and around this industry, Flight 5 was only the second time maybe that I can recall other than Artemis 1 that I had, those casual friends and family members asking me about a launch and talking about, oh, I saw this clip and I saw these people talking about it. I think a lot of that attention that was brought to Flight 5 just skyrocketed the attendance this time.
Oh, yeah, no, it definitely, last flight got a lot of attention. I mean, news channels around the world, even tech channels and larger channels that aren't really affiliated with this were seeing our content and other people's content and, mentioning it or using it. And that sort of told me this was a far-reaching item. Because catch wasn't attempted this time, I don't put it past next flight being similar. Of course, some people will be hesitant to come because they're like, oh, what if they don't do it again or it doesn't succeed? I don't want to have to travel for all that. But I don't put it past it. And granted, tourism is really, really good for Brownsville, for South Padre, for Boca. I mean, it's really good. That's something that we want. We want to promote that. But something we do want to also promote is following the rules.
Sure.
There's a lot of people crossing property lines and defying orders from the sheriff or security at SpaceX. And the way that affects us is we're going to get more and more of these privileges that we have to bring the content to the public taken away.
Right.
We're able to get really close. I don't know anywhere in the world you can get this close to a rocket that's literally about to take off in 12 hours. Or
not just any rocket, the most powerful, the largest rocket ever developed in human history.
Yeah, you just don't see that.
Right.
And every time somebody breaks a huge rule, and it's been seen in the past, something gets taken away, more walls or more distance is put between everything, which I don't blame SpaceX for that or any other company.
Yeah, because on a larger scale, other than the way that those kinds of things, those kinds of rule breaking from the general public affects us and affects other members of the media, but that's got to affect their ops as well. We felt bad. We saw a few members of the SpaceX security team out there kind of working the property line and doing their best for hours on hours to try and keep the general public off of their property line and let the SpaceX teams operate and get flight preps done. And I think we both felt like bad and stressed out for them because they had a heavy task on their hands.
Yeah, and I know a lot of other media members were. We would talk to different people going along the way, all along our route. No, everybody was saying the same thing. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good optic. And just being near people that were doing stuff like that is like, I don't even want to be close to that. People were launching drones in front of the drone site.
We saw, lasers going out towards the launch pad from the beach.
Somebody lazed Starship, which is insane.
You saying that doesn't sound like it sounds like the FBI's
That was
knocking down
crazy.
Like it doesn't sound legal.
That was crazy. Somebody had a kite out there, which, by the way, does violate FAA rules. Like, that is considered a flying object, by the way. You can't get away from that, whether it's a balloon or it's a kite, it's flying. So there was that. They're having to send drones out every 20 minutes to get people off their property or to stop breaking a rule.
So, playing a little behind the scenes with you guys here, we rolled a star trail shot with one of our GoPro cams from the dunes.
Yeah. And
in that shot, a lot of what mixes in the sky above Starship with the stars is the security drone chasing down people off the beach.
And it's like, it goes through a lot of the
it's a majority of the footage
like
from
half of it.
that night.
Yeah, it's like half of it. Like, maybe a quarter of it is the stars, a quarter of it is clouds, and then the rest of it is the drone zipping back and forth.
Yep.
Trying to, just attend to people that are having issues. And, it's definitely a tourist thing, or people who just don't care, or people who don't know. Because, dark hits, people who aren't familiar tend to leave. And it definitely got a lot calmer at that point.
Sure.
A lot calmer. It was a lot...
Except for the laser, that was crazy. That happened when it got done.
Yeah, but there was like a bunch of kids on the beach just partying away and just being
baby kids.
Yeah, being young adults, and which isn't an excuse, but it's just kind of, if you can't laze an aircraft at 30,000 feet or 32,000 feet, you can't do it to a national security
physically
item.
The largest national security asset that there is.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that is insane. It's just I don't know. And then considering the whole mix up that's going with land swaps and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point that land goes and it all gets taken. Sure, Starbase will not forever be like this. No. It can't. It can't be like this.
Yeah. You and I have had conversations about Starbase pretty likely turning into a facility similar to Kennedy Space Center within the next 5 to 10 years.
100%. With what the goal that they're going for. Imagine if an airport was just open to the public.
Free reign.
Yeah, you were able to walk up to your airplane and just, ooh, that's pretty. And then have to bounce before, a plane takes off. It's not going to stay like that. It's going to all get cut off. It's going to turn into an airport.
Yeah.
And, right now we're enjoying this luxury, and just losing it too early is just not something I'm looking forward to.
No, I think we both kind of left the pad that night with a feeling of anticipation for our setup, but also just kind of a general sense of disappointment and man, that was probably the worst experience that we've had out at Starbase underneath that rocket. And I think just that impending sense of losing those privileges is not really a great feeling. Because what it does is it creates this vicious cycle for us where we're trying to make some of the most inspiring visuals in the world for these guys.
Yep.
And really trying to educate and inspire a whole new generation of viewers, of an audience that really doesn't know anything about this. Yep. And our capabilities to do that and to bring these visuals and to bring the content that we're trying to bring these guys could get limited because of a small percentage of our audience, the general public. Absolutely. Just not using their heads.
That's it. That's all it is. And and of course, accidents are accidents. If you don't know, we've done it. We've been walking in at dark or just following a path, and there isn't a clear sign, and it's oops, all right, we gotta let's get back on course. But if a sheriff or security says, hey, you're on private property, back off, and you just defy it, and you're I don't care, that's crazy. I mean, there was somebody almost touching the pad, and a drone was telling them to get off, and they were just waving at the drone.
Just waving at the drone?
Yeah. Like, just insane stuff.
Multiple times we saw people in the dunes across the property line with security actively telling them, step off the property line. They're
Never
like,
move.
no, I'm just going to take this picture first.
Yeah. No,
It's crazy.
No, it's crazy. I mean, that was the main thing that I think I took away from setup. Setup was tough for us in general, just because we were having a lot of mishaps.
Yep.
We had a lot of mishaps just from rush. We kind of rushed a little bit.
Rush, and this I think we'll kind of get into this a little bit on the back end about launch day.
Yeah.
But this was also our first trial, and really with the mirrorless bodies rolling both photo and video out at the pad. And not that we're not familiar with the equipment, but the equipment being utilized in that particular environment, in that particular circumstance with flight of Starship, it's a whole nother beast in and of itself.
Yep.
We kind of had to play a lot of trial by error.
We did. We tried some things failed. Didn't work. We know exactly what we need to do now.
Yeah.
We have time in between block 2 getting ready. I hope. I can only hope. And
Watch, we're gonna get home, we're gonna get a text message like BTW for flying 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I try not to put my faith too much into this, but I'm hoping we have a little bit of time to get things right for these. I'm confident enough in the fix to add more cameras. We're gonna phase away from small bodies. I'm pretty confident in that. Yeah. Just in the fix itself, this data, it goes a long way. Something fails, you're like, I know what we need to do. Whether it's not easy or not cheap, we have what we want. Small form factor bodies, everybody's seen it now.
Mm-hmm.
We've excited everybody, and now it's yesterday's news.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think these guys will know because they'll have seen the footage at this point. But
Yeah.
I think what we were able to capture with the smaller bodies this time around, the GoPros, the Aces,
Yep.
I think kind of reaches that limit of what they're capable of.
Yeah,
I think we've set that bar now, and it's time to keep going.
We got really close on Flight 4. Everybody loved, the whole reason we got any type of recognition was for our flat shot. Everybody loved the flat shot, and of course at Flight 5 we didn't do it. And then this time, we used a little bit of lensery and different types of cameras to get something very similar without encroaching on flats this time, which was fun. And it came out better than that initial.
Sure.
But, we've heard from many, many people, even if we got similar footage like that, it's no longer surprising anymore.
Correct.
Which I expected, which is why we started there. We gave people something new. Now it's time to move on. Now it's time to give something else new. And of course, the cycle will continue. We'll give something crazy, a different angle, or a different type of camera. And after 2 flights, everybody's gonna be like, okay.
That's what keeps us in business, brother.
Yeah.
Constantly chasing this dragon that doesn't exist.
Absolutely. I mean, there's
That's chasing dragon.
There's no like one stop shop. You could go and you can rent an IMAX camera for $250,000 a week, and after 2 or 3 flights, that's all for the excitement. It's like, okay, are you gonna put a camera on Starship now? Like that's it,
Yeah, I think so. I would say something like that's the goal, But
Yeah.
we just got to become really, really good friends with the SpaceX. Like, guys,
I hope
we
so.
just have this shot idea.
Elon, Dan, hit us up.
Shout out. Yeah. So let's get into launch day. Talk a little bit about kind of our setup going into it. We can kind of detail what the actual launch experience was like for us. We talked about the booster catch that never was. We could talk about our setup and how it performed during launch.
So launch day, we ended up having, I believe we had 20 cameras out total. Yeah. We didn't utilize all the cameras we needed or wanted. But there's a few variables going on, whether it was beach condition or any water, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, which was all okay. Launch day itself for me, I just ran the drone that day. And of course, monitored the live stream. Our live stream chief, Emily, did a great job running that. Nice test. Small, limited, no commentary. Just wanted to make sure everything ran.
Some incredible views of feeling from the PTZ camera.
It looked beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. He did an excellent job. All we have to do really is dial in our audio. And then, of course, placement. Networking was a little odd. This launch was very odd because of the VIP guest that came. There were channels getting their cameras taken and bagged, and gladly, we didn't have anything bagged, but we started losing signal at weird times, and you could tell something was going on. And of course, it was a flyover at that point, and then it also looked like they were starting to clear the pad or clear the road for a visit at some point, which there was a visit there at the bay.
And you and I had kind of speculated in the days ahead that something like that was pretty likely.
Yeah. I mean, we were looking at the TFRs that were going on, and then there were stands going up in certain places, and it's like, okay, probably going to end up over there.
Sure.
And it probably would have went on a lot longer if Tech had happened, but again, it's just part of the game. But yeah, it was very odd. The latency issues were really weird. We were getting on one of them. Granted, we'll switch it anyway. Really odd, but this was the first launch that we've had a PTZ camera, live 4K with high optics that ran the entire time with no disruption. I mean, it went perfectly. We killed it just as launch was about to start because we wanted to be sure that all the gate that was there in the network was fully open to us actually tracking anything we needed. We weren't that confident to be able to say, okay, let it still stream live. Let's duel it. And we weren't ready for that yet. Yeah. That'll be next time. But yeah, we cut the stream, switched it over to SpaceX's feed, did some following ourselves. I was in Port Isabel, got the drone up. We're really, really tense. Got a great view.
Yep.
Really good view. Considering the TFR just extended way far. We had a lot better view prior. But this one still came out really good considering.
So do we want to clarify for them a little bit? For anyone at home that might be watching and hearing us talk about launching a drone during a rocket launch, that may hear that go, I didn't think you could do that. Do we want to talk about kind of how we pulled that off?
Yeah. So Starbase in general has, and as well as Massey's, has a temporary flight restriction. Even though it's not temporary, it's basically perpetual. But it extends X amount of miles, and you can view this on the FAA's website. But nothing is allowed in there to be flashy. Under a certain altitude, it's a national security item, so it makes sense. But prior to the VIP guests, plans to make this trip, that zone was a lot smaller. You could get a lot closer to it. As soon as that was announced, it basically doubled in size. Yeah. So from Port Isabel was where we were able to get our view. You were going straight up, and that was it. Yeah, you couldn't approach at all, nothing. So yeah, I mean, it was really interesting. Luckily, the drone that we run is a really good drone, really good camera, great polarizer. So we got a lot of good footage off of that.
Yeah, I love how that shot came out.
It looks great. Yeah, I love it. And granted, again, it was another
not the shot we were originally anticipating, but
of course. I mean, it's all testing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we got to test it for, if there was going to be a launch that didn't follow all the way through, I'm glad it was this one. Yeah, I'm glad it was this one because we're going to be a lot more prepared next time.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as launch day went, it was interesting. We expected to go home and, everybody relaxed. But as soon as we heard ditching to the ocean, We were like, oh. Because you were in Mexico, so I think you could tell in a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was interesting for anyone who doesn't know at this point. If you've seen our tracking footage of Flight-6, our tracking footage from on the ground, I shot, and I shot from what I think is a pretty unique perspective, somewhere that a whole lot of other people don't tend to go to, and that's Mexico.
Yeah.
I was on the opposite side of South Padre Island. I was on the opposite side of the beach where Starbase is located, shooting from a south to north perspective on the Launchpad. And that was just overall, launch day was what it was, but that experience in and of itself was it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I've never, up until Flight 5, I'd never been to Texas. Mm-hmm. And now until Flight 6, I'd never been out of another country besides the United States. And now I've been to Mexico. So we were able to work with and partner with a shuttle service that escorted me over there.
Yep.
Along with a couple of other guests.
Yep.
Onto the beach with the residents. And that was just a really interesting experience, getting to drive about an hour through, country that I've never been to. Completely different world. Like you cross the border from Texas going into Mexico, and it's like a 5-minute drive, and then all of a sudden the whole world just changes right around you. It's right.
How was the space community over there?
Man, everyone was just so nice.
Yeah.
Even those who weren't the space sweaty nerds like us.
Yep.
Just the general residents who were like, I want to see our rocket launch. They were super nice.
Yep.
The language barrier, obviously being what it was,
yep.
Didn't really affect a whole lot just because that nonverbal communication of
yeah.
We're in a happy atmosphere. Everyone's excited for the launch. Yep. Everyone's feeling good. Everyone's kind of got the pre-launch chitter.
Hey, I want to film here.
Yeah, with the nonverbal communication, everyone was just extremely kind. And then I was actually we've talked about this. I was really lucky and bumped into some spaceflight streamers from Mexico. Mm-hmm. One of the largest Spanish-speaking spaceflight outlets over there.
Yep.
Happened to be streaming 50 feet away from where I was standing. Mm-hmm. So I got to walk over and meet those guys. I want to pull up their channel name because I don't want to absolutely butcher it.
Yeah.
My Spanish is horrible, bro.
Yeah.
Tell me how I took 3 years of high school Spanish and aced it. And I don't remember anything.
I'm Mexican and I can't speak a word of it.
Bro, it's terrible. It's terrible.
So don't worry. Don't worry about that.
I felt so bad. I was the whole time my number one catchphrase was no español. English?
Most of the places down here, that's what I have to use.
Yeah. Let's see. I remember vaguely. I'm gonna butcher this.
Sure.
Frontera Espacial.
Frontera Espacial.
So I assume the translation is space frontier.
Yeah, that would be my assumption. Yeah.
And man, their crew was fantastic. A couple of them spoke English, and we were able to kind of conversate and
just seeing their setup from watching a replay of it.
Yeah,
they were on their.
They were on point.
Yeah,
they were on point. So they were streaming the launch live a couple hours prior to the launch and a little while after.
Yeah.
They're streaming to their Discord channel and I believe also to their YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me to be a guest.
No,
so
awesome.
Yeah, I was able to sit down and talk with their audience and talk with their crew for a few minutes and kind of introduced, I think, a new audience to Interstellar Gateway, which is just a really awesome opportunity. So again, thank you guys, and we look forward to hopefully working with you guys in the future. It's really neat.
No, going international is awesome.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, shout out to Brazil, because Brazil seems to have a really broad liking to us.
Yes.
Considering, everything with X and all that. But I mean, we've been contacted by so many Brazilian outlets via TikTok, just asking hey, we don't have much coverage. Can we use your footage, or can we cover full credit? And it's oh man, that's awesome. It's just really cool. I'm always loving anything dealing with spaceflight, even if it's not us. If we're watching somebody else's stream and you see people saying, "Hey, I'm calling in from Austria" or something like that, that's just awesome.
Yeah, it was
really cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So that was a really neat experience. And then the actual view of launch itself was kind of unbeatable, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I had several people ask me over there. A few Americans were on the beach with us, and then had a few people ask me, had the Frontera Espacial crew ask me, what was the difference in the view? And I've only ever seen one other Starship launch, and I was a little spoiled because it was Flight-5.
Great.
Watched that from South Padre Island.
Yeah.
What's the beach called?
You were at Isla Blanca.
Isla Blanca. I wanted to say Port Isabel, but it's not it. Watched Isla Blanca. That was an incredible view. That was pretty stellar. And I obviously watched the catch. You can't really beat that.
Yep.
But that being said, watching from Mexico and just being able to have that perspective, especially elevated, like up on top of one of the dunes over there on the beach, being able to have that perspective on the pad, see all the GSE, and see the cryo starting to bleed and vent, and the fog just starting to roll over the beach.
Yep.
I believe the distance is shorter between where I was in Mexico and SPI.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly seemed a lot shorter because it seemed like we were right freaking there.
Yep.
And launch was just gorgeous.
How did it feel? Did it feel different? A launch in general?
To be perfectly honest, I can't really recall. Because Flight 5, I was so locked into the experience of this was my first Starship launch. I really wasn't out there to collect a whole lot of content. I had one of Kay's camera that they let me borrow that I snapped like a couple of just little crowd shot stills with. But what was the intent of being out there was not to make content. It was to, as a member of the spaceflight community, as a creator in this industry who's been watching this program since its inception, I really wanted to fully envelop myself in that. And I'm so glad that I did, because not only did I get to see launch and just feel it and compare and contrast to every other hundreds of launches that I've seen, but then catch, which is just the most unique thing that my body has ever experienced or witnessed.
I'm still waiting for mine.
I was so... Dude, that was like my number one thought. So the first thing that came to my mind when I'll talk about this, but when I turned and I saw that they aborted catch and that it was laying in the ocean, I was like, damn it, Joey's not going to get to see catch. I was so mad, bro. I was so mad.
Because, I mean, for Flight 5, it did hit me. Because, me and Kay, we were in Brownsville monitoring stream and all the good stuff. It did hit me because we could see it, just
you could see entry.
We could see it flying like a bullet and just disappearing over the horizon over houses. And we're like, that's not about to get caught. Like, that's about to crash. And even that was like, wow. But so many people have told me, like, no, you have to, watch it. And granted,
bro, how many Falcon 9 RTLSs have I stood right under? For those who don't know, I've stood like a mile and a half as credentialed media from LZ1 in Cape Canaveral and watched several Falcon 9 return to launch site missions, and those are incredible in and of themselves. And being 4 miles away from Tower A here at Starbase, when Super Heavy comes in on approach, does not compare.
No.
It is not even, nothing will come close to that.
I can't. I mean, just the footage alone that we caught was insane. Mm-hmm. But I already know that, if I sit there and actually watch it myself, which I've never really been able to sit and just go out and say, hey, I just want to watch a rocket, launch.
Bro, I can't wait till the day when you're just able to be like, all right, guys, go have fun. Yeah. And then you just get to do your thing.
It's always the goal. It's always the goal. I can't wait till the day where I'm just, let me go out there and just let me go out there and just watch, see what happens.
And the bro's gonna be like, oh, did you look at the top? Way to go home.
It's something I've always wanted to do. In Flight 3, we tried our thing. It didn't work, but I sort of experienced it But we were so exhausted from Flight 3 that I got like 2 hours of sleep over a 48-hour period.
Yeah.
I was so gone. And one day I will replay the footage in one of our episodes because we have all of it. I mean, we recorded every bit of it. I mean, I'm sitting there like, and then Kay's like, they're launching, and I'm like, and like, I'm just looking like dumbfounded, like, oh. Like, I still, I still didn't take that in fully, but, Flight 4, 5, I'm locked in.
Yep.
I'm locked in everything, just making sure everything's working great. And then, of course, like, for this flight, the drone, I'm running the drone, and I can see it launching, but I'm locked in terms of, like, a cinematic form.
Right.
Like, I'm not taking it in like that.
Yeah, so kind of where this whole conversation split off, to answer your question, I don't really remember how it felt over in Mexico. Like, obviously the experience was great. Any launch experience, whether you're behind a camera or not, it rocks.
No.
But I wasn't locked into the experience of the launch. I was locked into our production.
Yeah. I would say the same.
A couple of hiccups there, but I feel like what we were able to walk away with was pretty cool, especially seeing as how, like, we had some tracking issues the higher that Starship climbed.
Yep.
And really kind of at the point of getting past max Q towards stage SEP and hot stage SEP, had to reconfigure our tracking setup and really just kind of like reorient and primarily prepare for catch.
Which is all data.
It's all data.
I mean,
so
it's just going to improve.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm oriented facing north, facing the launch pad, waiting for this thing to come freaking falling out of the sky at Mach Jesus and come in for catch. And
you couldn't hear it either. You couldn't hear the call out.
No.
Because you didn't have signal.
So there was no signal, no internet where we're at. We had no live call outs, no, there's no employees, there's no staff, nothing. And I'm literally surrounded by people who speak a foreign freaking language.
Yeah.
And because at a point after re-entry burn, you lose track.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna start to see it right here. And at that point,
it goes through its own cloud.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. At that point, I kind of happened to glance off to my right, even though I'm reorienting our tracking setup back towards the pad in that general direction. And I happen to glance right, and out of the corner of my eye, I catch relight of the landing burn about, I would have to estimate about 15, 20 miles, directly perpendicular, 90 degrees off the coast to my right, which was facing east. Yeah, east. West. And, dude, I mean, just snapped right over and was able to get our camera back online and get that shot that everyone's hopefully seen by now.
No, it came up
splashdown and the subsequent explosion in the water. That was wild to see. Wasn't what we were hoping for in terms of the overall content strategy we had going into this mission. But that was another follow-up question that I got from a lot of the people out there was, man, were you disappointed they didn't catch? I was like, well, I wasn't really disappointed because being in this industry, you expect those kind of things.
Absolutely.
Scrubs, changes to the mission, just small, especially this being a test program as of right now still, and these ships, even though they are huge and they are awesome, and most of the time they work and they do what they're supposed to do, this is still very much the prototype phase of Starship.
They need tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of things to go.
Correct.
Absolutely perfect.
Right.
Yep, absolutely perfect. And, innovation it's nasty. NASA did it completely different over the years. They would run simulations and, they would hire GE to just run every equation possible. And until they hit that margin of error where they were comfortable with sending somebody or, actually launching that $5 billion, $10 billion rocket, it didn't happen. This is just completely different. It's just send it, see what happens, let's figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing.
Exactly. And we talked about that in episode 1. Like,
we're doing the same.
Our model of approach to this is very similar to SpaceX's, where it's just like failure is absolutely the goal.
Yeah, just throw it out. Okay, let's do all this. Let's pick all this stuff and try this. And if it doesn't work, we improve on it. If it does work, awesome. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Exactly.
But no, it's I think every launch that I've done has had some type of delay or scrub, where you have to change your itinerary or change your flights and stuff. And you get here and you're like, oh, we're pushing it back a little bit and stuff like that. It's just stuff you have to adjust to. Space flight isn't, set in stone. It's not like flying on a plane.
Yep.
Completely different. But that's what makes it awesome. It's not normal.
It's not.
It's not normal. Anything that is normal isn't going to be fun. So I think this was still a success in our books.
100%.
I still
for the amount of things that, in terms of our personal scope of scale of Interstellar Gateway, in terms of the things that went wrong, that didn't go according to plan, the plans that were planned but never got to be executed because of the short amount of time that we had, and all of those steps along the way, I think with what we were able to walk away with and the experience that we had and the data, most importantly, the data that we were able to collect and the absolute assurance that we have going into the next mission of, we know.
Yeah, I know.
Going into Flight 7, we are on top of our freaking game.
Yeah, no, we know exactly what we need to do. We know what we need to get rid of and what we need to add.
Yeah, I think we struck the perfect balance of being able to walk away with something that we're happy with while also having enough data to really just propel us forward going into Flight 7.
Which was, that was the whole reason for keeping a good amount of small form factor cameras, was to go through this whole test phase that we have with full bodies and live cameras, but also assuring that we'll still have something really awesome and something that nobody else has, in case this didn't go as great as it could. We were having to scramble last minute the day before to find, makeshift parts to, hurry up and try to get things done.
So do we want to get into that? Do we want to kind of talk about a little bit what our setup was, what worked and what didn't work? Or
I would say, so the full bodies that we had, they, how much would you say these setups went for? $8,000 a piece?
Roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the ballpark of upwards of $4,000.
Okay, so we'll say $4,000.
Yeah.
So, the setups run around $4,000 a piece, and we weren't putting them in.
Well, some of them are like $8,000.
They vary.
We'll say $5,000 plus on all.
They weren't cheap.
No,
they weren't cheap.
No, people going, coming in what now?
No, they weren't cheap. I mean, these are cameras that people would have put far from the pad, or at least in a safe area.
Brother, I was sweating putting this stuff out there.
I mean,
because I'm used to putting this stuff out there at Kennedy Space Center where it's nice and safe. And get touched, and the NASA wants us to put cameras in a very specific place. This ain't that, brother.
Oh no,
this is different.
It was sketchy at minimum, but it was it's all about, man, you gotta get exciting here. You gotta get interesting.
You gotta
and others are following suit. I mean, everybody's understanding, like, people want to see different stuff. Nobody wants to see the same view every time. And granted, some of the same views for some organizations are going to be awesome every freaking time. It's like, that's freaking cool. But people like different stuff. They want to see. I mean, if somebody could watch it from a CubeSat in space, they would. That would be awesome to watch a Starship launch from space.
Just let me write that down.
I mean, look,
we have to order CubeSat.
we've looked into it.
We've thought of everything.
We've looked into it.
You think it's crazy?
we've done it. Like, I mean, we've definitely looked into it.
Bro, some of the conversations we've been having like the past couple days,
Everyone.
like if somebody was listening to the conversation, they'd be like,
what are you talking about? Like, no, it's definitely been interesting, but you know, like people want different stuff and they want people to get risk. People watch and want to be a part of things that are crazy, you know, and that doesn't mean reckless. That just means doing stuff that could possibly cause financial damage to somebody else. Yeah. You know, I can't explain how much equipment we've lost over the past few flights.
Dude, how much wrecked equipment we've just given away.
Oh yeah, no. And that's why we are giving it away. I'd rather give it away than throw it away.
Yeah.
But even this flight, we've lost a lot of cameras. There's a lot of them. But it's kind of part of the plan. You know, helps us phase out and go on to the bigger and better things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even our body cameras took some
heat, brother.
It took a little bit of heat. Granted, they're salvageable and get them cleaned up.
Yeah, thank God. Like all the actual functioning equipment, still functioning.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, always use a lens cover, or a clear lens, or a polarizer, an ND. Always use one. It does wonders.
Shout out Peter McKinnon of Polar Pro. Your guys' polarizers saved one of our most vital pieces of glasses.
Yeah,
I
show them the shrapnel that flew into this thing.
So this is one of the polarizers that we had on one of our cameras out there at the Launchpad, and I'll see if I can bring something new in focus for you guys. Maybe it won't focus, but there's a piece of shrapnel right here. I would say about the size of a pea that just had this polarizer from, again, we're not sponsored, but Peter McKinnon and Polar Pro. Peter McKinnon, I love you, brother. Man, our lens,
it would have been gone.
It would have been toast. It would have been like a bullet went through it.
It would have been gone. I mean, these polarizers are 2-layer. It definitely went through the first layer. it went through the first one, but it barely nicked the second one. Thankfully, you know, as soon as it hit that layer, it was just done. But you know, we had a polarizer on our PTZ also, and thankfully, that one got hit too.
Yeah,
and that one had a nice little dent in it, but luckily it's safe. So I guess the lesson here is we're going to end up replacing polarizers, you know, a good amount of times.
But replacing polarizers is better than replacing full body setups.
Yeah, you know, especially when we start moving into, you know, any IMAX certified cameras. And yeah, I won't want to replace those bodies. It's not going to be fun, or even just the lenses. Yeah. It's not going to be fun. So, you know, and of course we'll move into...
Just the hypothetical pain in your voice.
It hurts my brain to think about. It hurts my brain to think about, but, you know, we'll move into enclosures and stuff like that. And, of course, I think something else to think about is a lot of this innovation we're doing isn't just restricted to Starbase or SpaceX. Like, we want to cover a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, SpaceX, Blue Origin, NASA.
Everybody. Rocket Lab. Everyone. Yeah. Like, if you're a small-time company, we want to cover it.
Yeah.
Like, if you'll let us throw a camera and let us cook a camera, I don't care if I have to cook an R series to be able to get the shot, and we will do it. Like, it's all about growing excitement in the space community, and that's what is required here. Yeah. Pushing the envelope. So, yeah, if you're a space company out there and you want some coverage, some good coverage,
some crazy coverage,
we'll take care of you.
If you want somebody who's going to throw caution to the wind,
yes,
I'll introduce you to Joe.
We'll put a camera directly in the bell of your engine.
Is that a quote?
Yes, whatever, you can quote me on that. I will put a camera directly in line with the housing of your engine and get the shot that I need.
The motto underneath the logo on the pricing banner. I will put a camera underneath your engine bed.
No, literally, like, I promise you, if you let me put it inside the engine, I would do it. Like, I would put it directly inside there and just let you blast it to smithereens as long as I can figure out how to save the SD.
Damn.
But no, like this is exciting. We're gonna make a lot of things happen.
I am pumped.
I'm pumped too.
For Flight-7, brother.
Yeah.
For everything going forward, I am just like through the roof excited because I get to have the coolest job in the world.
Yeah.
Thanks to you and thanks to the Interstellar Gateway team.
No,
but
it's awesome.
man, we got some cool stuff going on.
Yeah. Definitely need a rest, a good bed.
Dude, oh my god, it's gonna be like a 3-month nap.
Yeah. Like as soon as we get back, it's just sleep for like a week.
Snoozing,
It's
brother.
sleep for a week, and then of course it's back. So
Back to making plans.
yeah, business as usual. But yeah, no, this is it's been a great flight. It's been a great flight. A lot of data.
Yep.
Really happy.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the content we're going to be pushing out to you guys. I think this will probably be podcast episode number 2. We've been going here for a little while now.
Mm-hmm.
This will probably come out after you guys get to see the initial drop of Flight-6 footage, and we'll have some more things coming your way. Don't worry. We'll have some more things occupying your time until Flight 7 too. Don't worry. There's more rockets and more cool things other than Starship.
Yeah. And just an update. Interstellar Gateway, Starship Episode 1 is on par to release before the year is over.
He said it, folks.
We are 500 out of 2,600 frames rendered, and it's been rendering for a week, I think. Maybe a week and a half. We're on par. So we had some hiccups with that render. We should be good to go. Once that's done, it's comp. Shout out Eisen, love you, brother. Dovry, but that'll be really exciting. I think everybody will love that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be pretty crazy.
I'm stoked. Episode 1 has been well in the works since before I even came.
It's been in the works for like a year now,
yeah,
brother.
and I'm stoked to see how it all comes together, bro. 'Cause I've seen these glimpses. I see these glimpses in our little back channels and some of the things that you show me, and I'm like, ooh, it's gonna be so lit.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
No, it's gonna be awesome. But yeah, we'll get all our stuff done, and we'll see everybody here pretty soon.
all right, we got a little long night ahead of us, so I think we're gonna be back to it. But thank you guys for tuning in, episode 2. If you guys are seeing this a couple of days from now, just know that we love you. We hope you enjoyed the content that we made for you this time. We'll see you next flight. Is there anything else we need to touch on before we let them go?
I think that's it.
All right, guys.
Follow us on X, YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to see all the videos that we drop on the YouTube channel. We hit on a little bit in episode 1, but our audience incentive programs should be up and running here pretty soon. If they're not already, go ahead and check those out. We're on Patreon, we're on YouTube. You can engage with us there and give us your support. We'll give it right back to you guys. We want to give you the best launch experience we possibly can, even if it's at home behind a cell phone screen or a computer screen. And we want you guys to really feel the passion as much as we do. So,
Absolutely.
all right?
Absolutely.
Alrighty, guys.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks.